Erica was driving in the emergency. Morning, everyone. Just waiting on a couple more people, I think.
All right, good morning, everyone. I see a quorum and it is 11:10, so let's get started. I'll read the intro and then everyone can introduce themselves. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law a supplemental budget bill, which, among other things, further extends temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Any or all members of a public body may continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. This meeting is being recorded. All votes must be taken with a roll call vote. We'll begin the open session by having each remote member introduce themselves. This is Mike Marcucci participating remotely. Andrew, next to you.
Andrew Foster participating remotely.
Christine.
Christine Freeweiler participating remotely.
Megan.
Megan Sullivan participating remotely.
Eileen.
Eileen Murphy reporting, excuse me, participating remotely.
Brent.
Brent Nelson participating remotely.
And Rob. Is Rob here? I thought I saw him.
Rob is here. Let's see.
Well, Michael LaFrancesca, you can introduce yourself while we wait for Rob to get.
Participating remotely.
Great. And Michael?
Michael LaFrancesca participating remotely.
All right, fantastic. So our first discussion item, Frank, is the fire department.
Yes, Chief Carrico, I believe is connecting in now.
Anything else to cover before we start with him?
Oh,
I have a quick thing we can probably take while he's connecting, and this jumps to number 4 on our agenda is that I'll send a poll out in a couple of days to see everybody's availability to attend a select board meeting to talk about sidewalks.
Super.
So, yeah, so I think we need, the capital budget committee has talked about it at several meetings that we need to have a better approach and more of a long-term approach to how we're going to talk about sidewalks. And several select board members have also reached out to me to start having that conversation. So I will talk with the chair and we will set up a meeting in December or January, and I'll get everybody's information on that, whether or not you can attend.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you.
another sort of one-off request that was submitted by Chief Corrett from the police department that was included in the packet is a request for some additional funding to be used for the purchase of tasers, which was included in the fiscal year 2025 capital improvement plan. So this would have been recommended and approved by this committee and then approved by town meeting in May. So the original budget for those tasers was $72,000. They've come in that the actual cost has come in a little bit more. So the police department's requesting $8,570.80 to be spent out of ARPA money to cover the balance. We'd likely be paying for these tasers out of our ARPA allocation to begin with, as the select board has set aside $150,000 for the fiscal year 2025 capital plan purchases. So it's just a matter of using a little bit extra of those ARPA dollars to cover this expense. These funds are under the I guess the purview of the select board, but I think we just wanted to make sure that the capital budget committee was comfortable with this purchase going over and above its initial request that was made, I'm guessing probably around this time last year. So there was that letter that I put in the packet from Chief Corrett, but I'm happy to follow up with any questions or concerns you might have. And the somewhat coincides with an upcoming deadline that we have for use of the ARPA funds. So those dollars have to be spent by the end of calendar year 2026, but they actually have to be committed by the end of this calendar year. So that means, we have to have something under contract, or it has to be, physically here for those funds to be counted as committed. So we don't have all that much more time to commit them anyway. So happy to take any questions or follow up with the chief on that as well.
Anyone have questions or comments on the 8,500 for the tasers?
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, last year when this came up, I was shocked at how much tasers cost. And now apparently it costs even more. I mean, a handgun's like $500, and yet these cost $4,000 each. So I'm just amazed by that. But I mean, if we're going to lose this money, from ARPA, if we don't spend it, we might as well go ahead and pay for the overrun. I just continue to be flummoxed at how much a taser costs.
Mhm. And the other thing is it only has a useful life of 5 years, as I recall, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, at this point, we've committed 72,000, so we might as well make up the difference.
Yeah, Frank, this is Rob. What is the balance of the ARPA that was allocated to, to Medfield, or that was, we applied for at this point in time? Just curious.
So, sorry, just one second.
Actually, if we could put this conversation on hold, I know we have Carrico and we have a limited amount of time with him. If we can just talk to Carrico first and then go right back to the ARPA.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, Chief, you should be able to speak now. You are
Welcome,
muted.
Chief Carrico.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, I'm sorry about this. I have a little family issue going on, and I'm actually en route to Tufts emergency room right now as we
Oh,
speak.
no. Well, we can postpone this if needed.
Oh no, I've got another 30 minutes before I get
Okay.
there. So
All right. I think then we just have 2 items to discuss with you, the ambulance and the structural fire gear.
Yep.
All right.
For the ambulance, my plan all along has been to replace ambulances every 5 to 7 years, because that's when you can get the best trade-in value for the ambulance. I know in the past year it's been 10 years for an ambulance. I think that the 5 to 7 year plan is a much better plan, as you're trading in an ambulance and you're getting a little more value for it. Plus the wear and tear that we're doing, transporting the ALS patients all over the place is basically beating up the trucks pretty good. The other item that I had was structural fire gear. NFPA says that the structural fire gear is only good for 10 years. That's because the exterior of the material starts to break down with UV exposure over the 10 years. So it's their recommendation, change everything out. And that's part of the plan. We had some structural fire gear last year that I purchased. And this is the continuation of the replacement plan to get everybody in the new set of gear, which will last 10 years.
All right. Let's start with the ambulance. Anyone have questions on the ambulance?
Okay.
Is this something that's gonna come from the ambulance fund, or are we paying for it, and would we consider a lease?
Yeah,
I think it's listed to come from the revolving fund, correct?
Correct. It's the ambulance revolving fund would fund the ambulance. We've been making some pretty good money every year, increasing that. Those funds are actually increasing every year also. Once we get the 4th firefighters on board and they're trained, the ambulance revenue is actually going to increase. I want to say I'm predicting almost $550,000 once everybody's up and online.
Other questions on the ambulance?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Any questions on the structural fire gear?
Oh, Chief
No.
says it needs to be done and needs to be rotated out, and I would not argue that.
Yeah, what happens with the old gear is we save it so if when the newer gear gets dirty, then at least the firefighters have something to wear in the interim. Any gear that gets like the 15-year mark, we have no choice. We got to, you have to dispose of it. So I'm trying to make the best use of what we have, make it last as long as possible. That's why I have a policy in place for cleaning the gear after fires. Trying to make what we have last as long as possible. reduce the wear and tear also.
Hey, Chief, quick question. Does this 38,000 include the four firefighters that we're adding from the grant?
Yeah, we only have to purchase gear for 2 firefighters because I'm onboarding 2 on-call firefighters who already have gear.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I also have another grant coming in for another $19,000, which is going to buy them hoods and gloves, some other equipment also. You should be getting that notice probably in the next month for that grant.
Thank you for that. Any other questions before we let the chief go?
No, good. Hope everything goes well.
I hope so
Thanks,
too.
chief.
All right. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, Chief.
All right.
All right, Frank, what else do we have?
So I guess I can just pick, if it's okay, I can just pick back up with Rob's question on the ARPA dollars. So ARPA gets a little bit, I know it's not the most fun topic, so if I'm talking through this and someone has any other questions, please just butt right in. So the town received ARPA dollars in 2 different buckets, I suppose you can call them. One directly from the federal government, we just refer to it as Treasury, and another from Norfolk County. From the Treasury portion of our ARPA allocation, I'm sorry, the total on the Treasury side was about 1.3 million. The Norfolk County allocation was 2.4 million. Now, from that Treasury allocation, we took the select board approved $700,000 to be used for capital purchases, 350 from fiscal 24 and 350,000 from fiscal 25. The fiscal 25 total that has been spent, as in money that has already gone out the door, is $147,642.
I'm sorry, I'd like to update that. That's an older number, it looks like, but the balance we have unspent in the treasury right now is $258,000, and we've spent 191 this year so far. Or at least something maybe put in for tomorrow to pay, but
We can send everybody an updated spreadsheet that shows exactly what was allocated to capital and what was not.
Frank, is there does the balance represent the last of the U.S. Treasury ARPA source of funds?
So all of the capital funding, well, all of the capital funding for fiscal year 2025 is coming out of the Treasury allocation. Is that your question?
Or is fiscal 2025 the last year
Yes.
for which the town would qualify for ARPA funds?
Yes. So because all of the funds have to be committed to a spending item by the end of this calendar year, they won't be able to be spent on items not funded until fiscal 26.
Okay.
Because we won't know what those things are. I mean, in theory we do, but they won't be approved by town meeting until May of 2025.
So that would then, whatever is in balance can be carried forward to 26. Is that right?
It cannot be carried forward.
Cannot be. Okay. So this is really just finding good uses for what's available, what's available in the balance at this point, and kind of
yes. And so we've been working with the department heads to make sure that we're committing those funds by that deadline, and we should be able to do it. But we don't have too big a concern on the capital side. So again, it's just making sure that we have either some sort of contract or order play. I believe an order also counts. Like if we ordered something and it hasn't come in yet, that counts as committed. We're fairly confident. And obviously if we've ordered something and it's here, and we've already paid for it, then, that counts as committed.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on ARPA? All right. Frank, anything else to cover today?
So I know we jumped off there for a second on the tasers, but any other questions on the tasers?
Sounds like the answer to that is no. No further
Okay.
questions.
I can follow up with the chief and let her know those are good to purchase then.
Other than noting Brent's bafflement at the cost of tasers generally, but maybe there's an opportunity for a startup business there, Brent, to make more cost-effective tasers and undersell the taser market. So
Do we have, if we're done with the business, can we just talk a little bit about the document about the IT breakdown? Or is that not something we are prepared to discuss? Or
No, I think that would fall under.
does everybody in the capital budget committee have that?
That was sent a couple weeks ago, yes?
I think so.
The 15th of October, I think, 15 or 16.
Yeah, the only thing I had left on the agenda was just general discussion of fiscal 26 stuff. So whatever the committee wants to discuss.
My question is just for explanation, not necessarily to go over any particular item. Can you just help me to? I mean, I guess I could share my screen potentially, or if you have a copy of the spreadsheet.
Let me. There you go, Brent. You should be able to share your screen.
Okay, let's give it a try. Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So what I see, for example, in this row 15, column C, is the $300,000 that presumably was, the amount that was approved, and a breakdown, which, accumulates to something close to zero by the time we're done. But what I'm wondering about is the fact that the money gets put into different columns based on different fiscal years. I'm just curious as to whether how that works. I wasn't aware that you could sort of spend money designated for a particular fiscal year 2 years later, which is, it would appear is what was happening with this money. Am I misunderstanding this?
No, so these are considered special articles. If the money's not spent at year end, it will carry forward until it's spent or until it's closed. So some of these, they were spent throughout different fiscal years.
Okay, all right, that's it. I'm gonna stop sharing then.
Oh, but I would like to ask, doesn't that show us with a whole extra year's worth of money that hasn't been spent?
Should I put it back on?
Could you put it back on?
Yeah, sure.
Right, if the point was to say, well, how have we spent the $300,000 with, have we allocated it like the past 3 years?
I can actually answer that question. So there were items on the capital project that we ordered in that fiscal year, but because of demand and delivery, they weren't delivered until a year and a half later. So we, have to charge the correct year that they were actually ordered in. So that's why it's kept open. That happened a lot right after COVID, that we will put in orders, but because manufacturing couldn't manufacture them because they couldn't get certain specific parts, those were delayed.
Okay. All right, thanks. I'll stop sharing it.
So I think the only other business we have is I think we have to schedule one more meeting. Is that right, Frank? To kind of go through the whole budget and vote a final recommendation, and whatever items people want to discuss. I would propose this. I mean, Frank, if you could work on scheduling a time that works for everyone. And we had our tentative regular meeting was on Thursday mornings. I don't know if that's going to be able to get a Thursday morning in November. And then if members could email just me and Frank if there are particular items that are on the draft budget that you want to discuss. In other words, if there's particular items that you're inclined to say no to, and so we might want to have a department head or somebody else available to they want to come make another pitch for it. That would be helpful just in organizing the discussion for this. So I think we don't need to spend a lot of time if you look through it, and a lot of them are uncontroversial, we can just go through the list. But if there are things that people would like to spend time on in that meeting, let me and Frank know, and we'll make sure to prioritize those up front. And then if there's more information that you need on any of those items, if you could do the same thing, ask, Frank and I for it, and we'll make sure to get that information in advance so we're prepared to have that discussion. So does that make sense to everyone as a way to proceed? I think it would be good if we just have one more meeting and we can vote a recommended budget to pass it on to the select board and the warrant committee. Maybe next week or the week after, before Thanksgiving. We could do this before Thanksgiving.
So Mike, can I ask a quick question on that? So for example, I think when we had Parks and Rec on, Christine, you had called out that the vehicle they were looking at, it was the request to them explore what the cost would be for a hybrid or an electric to fall in line with what the select board had just supported a week or two before. So Christine, have you got anything back from Katie regarding that?
Not from any of our department heads on that. The problem with that is we had them prepare these requests over the summer and then kind of blindsided them all in October that we were going to change the policy. So everybody is scrambling to get those new cost estimates done. So we'll get them as soon as we can.
And then would the pushback be potentially, instead of a one-to-one vehicle, something more along the lines of a vehicle that I know Council on Aging just recently purchased, which is a minivan, but not so large that it's overwhelming for someone to drive, but a little more practical when we're dealing with a department that's one-to-many, not one-to-one? So is that a request we can make of them, or are we forced to say yes to something that another option would be potentially wiser?
I mean, I think that's a discussion for the whole committee, I would assume.
Okay.
Sounds like we should have Katie attend the next meeting. Okay.
Well, unless I'm the only person that when we had that conversation, unless I'm the only one that scratched my head on why we'd be looking for an individual vehicle to handle one person versus a department. Parks and Rec is about moving many around. So if they were going to, as a town, support buying a vehicle, I would think it would be a more practical vehicle.
No, I'd join you, Eileen, as a head scratcher on that one. And that was going to be on my list for something to discuss
Okay.
in the budget. So whether a head scratch, an eyebrow raise, whatever gesture we're talking about, I'm with you on that one as well. So and then if there's other things that people want to talk about as well, we can add those. We can prioritize those in our discussion for this follow-up meeting.
Do we have budget constraints? Like how do the requests compare to the available funds? That's probably somewhere here for us to look at in that packet.
I think that the current draft budget is within the range of what is available and what has been allocated and what has historically been in the last few years since we've changed this approach come out of the capital stabilization fund. So I don't think we're in a position of having to cut to get to a particular number within the range. It's more whether everything makes sense more generally.
Mm-hmm.
And there is those numbers are in our packet for this meeting. So this year's set of requests and then the capital stabilization number is the last page of the packet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else?
There is a question, but I know the chief's already gone. So can we forward Chris's question on to the chief?
I didn't even see that. Oh, sorry. There's a question. Is there a PFAS-free fire gear option? Question. Yeah, we can ask Chief Carrico. Frank, do you want to pass that on to Chief Carrico?
Yep, I will take that.
Great, thank you.
Sorry about that.
I didn't see it until I scrolled.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. So, all right. Anything further?
Are we also doing facilities at some point?
Yes, so we have just brought on our new facilities director. He began last Monday, so he's had a very busy week already. So we just had a meeting on Thursday and we'll be prepared to present that next 5-year plan to you, recognizing that we are also awaiting our 20-year capital plan update, which we don't anticipate having until January or February. So we're looking mainly at a 1 year until we can implement that 20-year plan. But we'll definitely bring Rob to the next meeting.
Great. Anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
No.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right. Roll call vote, starting with Rob,
aye.
Andrew,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Brent,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Eileen,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
All right,
Okay.
bye.